Welcome to Secret Spaces. This is a weekly Twitter space featuring contributors to Secret Network and the Cosmos ecosystem, as well as sometimes updates and news that we have. So thanks for joining us today. We're talking with the AART development team. They've built a Blackjack card game on Secret that makes use of Secret VRF for randomness. So we'll start out by introducing our guests. Patrick, would you like to introduce our guests and then they can introduce themselves as well?
Yeah, so I mean, that's already a pretty good introduction of the team. I'm not sure exactly who we're speaking with today from the Blackjack team, but I see their account is up on the stage. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, it's Yesha speaking. Excited to talk today about what we're doing and what we want to do in the future.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about your development team? Who are you guys?
Absolutely, I get that a lot. So let me explain a little bit what AART is. So AART is the Anther Association Research and Technology, and what we really are is a group of people from different backgrounds and expertise. And when you're an associate at Anther, you have an obligation to your colleagues, and that obligation is to assist using your expertise however possible when requested. So myself, my background, I come from a physics background, and after physics at university, I started specializing in the fintech industry and software engineering. But we're a very large group. There are many AART members, associates even, that aren't necessarily part of Blackjack, but are a part of a greater thing. So we have a lot of people from finance, from engineering, from marketing, from writing. So we're a pretty large group, and we're a bit ambiguous in that we're not like, it's in the name. We're primarily focused on technology and ways of implementing cutting edge technology, and we operate on an individual basis. So I got into smart contracts, and I've been assisted by many members of AART in building this project. But I hope that sort of clarifies a little bit what AART is. So AART is a part of a bigger thing. And Blackjack is a small project, which is, I guess, overseen by myself, who is an associate at AART.
Amazing. Yeah, so it's not a DAO, but it sounds DAO-like. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is a sense of, I guess, of, like we're all equal members and we all have, equal obligations, and there isn't really I suppose, not to say that there isn't a hierarchy, but for example, for projects like these, I don't tend to call myself like maybe I'm overseeing it, but I'm not like a leader or anything. I'm an associate, and it's sort of something that any associate can sort of join in if they have an area of expertise where they feel like they can they should have a say. Then everyone gets an equal say. Yeah, I guess it is sort of like a DAO.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely pioneering the future. This is the way that a lot of us envision the future of project building to look, but it's actually been a little hard to enact in real life because when you have we're just not used to, we don't think in those structures that are non-hierarchical. So I think I could ask you a whole bunch of questions about that structure, and maybe I will at the end, especially like why you're not a DAO. But let's move on a little bit. I want to get through a few other questions that are relevant and interesting first, and we can come back to this. So how did you first find out about Secret, or your team?
Yeah, so the way I found out about Secret, so I've sort of been in crypto for a while now. So it's particularly for me, since I'm sort of one of the few people who are, it's researching technology, and I happen to be one of the associates that was looking into blockchain and smart contracts. And a couple of years ago, I was looking into, Ethereum smart contracts, and I wanted to get my feet wet and make like a really simple smart contract just to sort of see what all the fuss was about. Um, as you know, the issue with Ethereum is so well, the primary issue is fees, right? I wanted to make something that seemed realistic, and what would always come up was, well, actually two issues. So the first issue is of fees being unrealistically high for making anything with data for day-to-day use, and the second thing was the need to use oracles to get off-chain data. And you know, I labored trying to like think of different things that I could make to make it, because it's for research, but it's also you want to test the credibility. So I started off a couple of years ago getting into Ethereum, and then I guess those issues made me made me look at alternatives, and that's sort of how I got into the Cosmos network. Well, that and two reasons. I was interested in a cache. I thought it was a really good project. I still do. It's like maybe my second largest investment. And naturally, as you get into the Cosmos network, you learn about some other cool stuff. And then I'd heard about Secret Network, and I thought, oh, that's cool. Like, what's their thing? Oh, privacy on chain. That actually makes sense. Like, yeah, we have. It's good that we have a distributed ledger where people can we can verify transactions are legitimate on that distributed ledger. But then there are cases, especially for smart contracts, where you want to handle private data. How do you manage that? And that got me into that got me interested in the whole, that trilemma of privacy, scalability, and security. And I was interested in how Secret Network resolves that trilemma.
Mm-hmm.
So very soon, I eventually wanted to, again, get my feet wet and actually try something for myself, not just do a bit of, not just like, reading research. Um, so I got into Secret Network, I guess from Ethereum smart contracts, but I was looking for something that was a bit more that was scalable also, but a bit more feasible in terms of fees
Mm-hmm.
and what's the other word? In terms of fees and I guess transactions per second. That's how I got into Cosmos Network, and then what really hooked me into Secret Network was that on-chain privacy.
Right. Amazing. That's a great story. Um, so it sounds like you were the driving force behind coming to find Secret as the solution. So I was going to ask you how the idea of Blackjack came about, but you kind of left us hanging with your last comment. You said you wanted to do something beyond just research and figure things out. So, but why Blackjack?
Yeah, why indeed? So it's not exactly a revolutionary story. I think I was studying my master's at university, and um, my girlfriend and myself, my partner and myself, we like to play blackjack a lot. Like she always has like a deck of cards on her for when like we're with friends or we're just sat at a table like for lunch or something. So we're very competitive people when it comes to that game. So I guess that's one factor as to why I chose blackjack. But obviously there's a technical reason as to why I chose blackjack as well. So as I mentioned before, when I got into the secret network and I wanted to, try for myself making a secret smart contract, I had to think about like, okay, what can I use as a not a prototype, but as an example for myself to understand how secret smart contracts work, um, how well, not Web3, but how CosmWasm works, and what can I build that's easy, that's easy concept wise, and needs privacy in the first place. And yeah, I guess it must have been in my mind, oh, a card game like Blackjack. I mean, it's intuitive, right? A card game like Blackjack, there is a sense of privacy because you you want to know what your hand is, but you don't want your opponents to know what your hand is. Like it's straightforward. And the other good thing is that it's a card game, so it's turn based, and that really matches up nicely with uh, blockchains which use atomicity. It's an atomic blockchain where transactions are one after the other, and that makes sense for a turn-based game. Any turn-based game really works out for blockchain gaming, which is something that we've thought about at AART. That's a hint for the future.
Great.
But yeah, it sort of seemed intuitive to me to like make a card game because yes, card games need privacy, and yes, they're turn-based, they're atomic, so it makes sense to make it as a blockchain game. It fits in quite nicely.
Yeah, right. And is it operational now? Can people use it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been operational for a while now. So I think in the beginning of God, let's say January, February. I think in somewhere towards the beginning of March this year, I've been working with Secret Network Africa. I've been working with Pope Black. He was very helpful in helping me organize game nights, and those game nights were really useful. They allowed the team to beta test the actual game and to create, I guess, a really small sort of community of people who could give us feedback on what they liked about the game, what they think needed changing, and we really did sort of go with that over the coming months. So for a while now, we've had our game available on the testnet on Pulsar 2. I'm not sure if we have plans to switch to Pulsar 3 just because we're on our way to going mainnet. We might still do that anyway. But we're on Pulsar 2 at the moment. It's free to play, obviously, because it's testnet tokens. We do game nights every Friday evenings at 6 p.m. UTC. I think we're going to continue doing that even up until mainnet, just because it's a nice community and people enjoy the games and you can win prizes, like actual secret, not testnet
Very cool.
secret.
How
So
can people join?
how can people join? Absolutely. I would say get on our Discord. That's where we congregate on Fridays, just to sort of get the game going. We can do we do Twitter updates whenever our game nights are on. Um, but I would say join our Discord. I'll leave a link at the bottom, and it's every other. It's every Friday, but there are some days where we don't do it just because we need to do some maintenance.
So if you
But you'll
if you
know.
wanna try Blackjack online with a community of fun people, every join the Discord, and then every second Friday there's a game night.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always make a tweet beforehand, either like the night beforehand or maybe a couple of days beforehand,
Okay.
just because we need to absolutely know. But yeah, we'll make a tweet each time, but also you don't have to just wait for a game night to come around. We do have a single player mode, and that's quite
Hmm.
useful for people who want to get familiar with the game and actually try it out for themselves. You can play against the AI, and that's always available via our
Very
website,
cool.
which I'll also leave a link for.
Sounds fun. So you mentioned that you're planning to go to mainnet. Can you tell us more about your roadmap and timeline?
Yeah, absolutely. So the team's been working really hard, and I guess a couple months ago, we'd set our target for mainnet by September. That's still looking realistic with all things going well. Um, so we're currently, I guess, towards the end of our roadmap. We're still trying to get a bit of auditing done on the back end. And what we're trying to do as well is just thinking in terms of the long term, how we can fund, more projects like these. We've set up a validator recently, and we've been campaigning. We've just started a campaign to encourage people to stake with us, just so we can use that as a means to fund more projects like this. And we're doing airdrops at the moment, and that's a way that you can support us by staking with us. I think I made a tweet I think maybe about a week ago, but I'll sort of detail that towards the end when I talk about the future.
Okay.
But yeah, we're validating at the moment, and we're looking at ways to increase the size of our team and do more projects in the future. But our roadmap is on. We're looking on target to reach mainnet by late September.
Cool. And I know you covered it. You talked about why you were looking for an application that would work, and the reason that you chose Blackjack with Secret is that you want to have access to your own hand, but you want the other person's hand to be private, right? Or the other person wants their hand to be private. You don't need to know what they have. And so can you tell us a little bit more about how Secret VRF solved that problem for you?
Yeah, definitely. So when I started building on Secret Network, actually there wasn't Secret VRF, and this would have extended our roadmap significantly, because one of the major hurdles that I had to think about was, okay, I have a game that needs randomness, and at the time before Secret VRF, I was using my own pseudo random generator, but that poses problems because you're no longer, everything but that random generator is decentralized, right? Because I wrote that random generator, so there's a need for people to trust that what I wrote is random and it is fair. And there were issues around like, okay, how can I prove that it's random? And then miraculously, Secret VRF came along and sort of removed that issue.
Just at the right time.
I remember just at the right time. Yeah, I remember going through the code base and being like, oh, okay, I can remove these files for the pseudo random generator, because I can literally just source my randomness from the smart contract itself.
Right.
And that was quite useful. It reduced the amount of code that I needed, and it reduced that hurdle of needing to think of a creative way, a robust and, I guess, scientific way of proving randomness, because people are going to ask questions, right? Like, how do you know that it's random? Like, for example, it's sort of the big issue with centralized games that need randomness and that have a sort of sense of gambling in it. You have to trust that centralized organization is fair, but you no longer need to do that with Secret VRF, and that's made it much easier to just sort of plug in randomness where I need to, and I can rely on the fact that it's verifiable natively to sort of have that confidence, or to give people that confidence that our contract is
amazing.
fair.
Yeah, that's exactly why we released Secret VRF, to provide that trustable random number generation that is outside the control of the project builder, but built in natively to the chain. So that's awesome that it arrived at the right time for you. Does the AART team have any plans to develop additional apps on Secret after Blackjack? And if you want to go into that,
yeah.
What your future looks like, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some exciting developments. Where do I start? So during the development phase of Blackjack, there were a lot of talks of like, hey, can you make like some other card games? Can you make like 21 poker? Can you make like some indie games that have like a sort of prize feature where you can earn Secret as well? And yeah, that's definitely been in our eyesight. We've sort of made it really easy for ourselves, because we've made through Blackjack a sort of framework for making these these scalable games that you can play multiplayer with, like, you know, strangers. You can play privately with strangers, like on a large scale, or you can play on like just with your friends, or you can just play like individually. So we definitely do have our eyes on games like 21 or poker, or there's a really interesting game I mentioned in an earlier talk called it's called which is UR, and there's a really interesting YouTube video. I forget the name of the gentleman who does it, but it's a really cool game, and that would really work as well as a blockchain game because again it's turn-based, and it's a I guess it's not a slow-paced game, but you don't really have to be quick about it. You can take your time. That's for games, but at AART we don't really just do games. We definitely want to do some other things. So an interesting development is that well, I'm proud to say that in the beginning of next year, two associates will be joining us at AART. One writes copy for the Star Wars games, and the other one is in marketing at EA. So what we'll be doing is we really want to make or look at making a digital magazine for sci-fi. So we sort of all know each other from back home and uni, and growing up we were quite into sci-fi, books, films, and the like. And we're considering making a digital magazine, and we think the blockchain can have we can leverage blockchain in a way that's beneficial, and people can own issues of a magazine in a way that is trustless. So we're in the planning stages of that, and we hope to get started the beginning of next year. So that's one of the more interesting things we want to do.
Interesting, very interesting. I know Cointelegraph has made forays into that area by having each of their articles have a limited number of NFTs that you can mint. So if you think something is a historic moment, you can mint an NFT of that article and store it in your wallet. So, but it's definitely adding NFTs to an existing online magazine. It sounds like yours is going to be natively digital from the beginning, and it's very interesting. I can't quite imagine what it will look like, but it sounds like I'm going to keep track of it because it sounds really interesting. So,
yeah, thank you. Well, we're painting a broad brush at the moment, but we're really excited to get it started. At the moment, we're just focused on sci-fi because a lot of we know a couple writers who are keen to write articles around sci-fi. I mean, like I mentioned, these guys are huge Star Wars nerds. That like they sort of work in the franchise. So it's a broad brush at the moment, but to start off, we think it's going to be articles about sci-fi books and films, and some writers want to do like short stories for each article release. We'll start off quarterly, and then if things go well, we'll sort of cut that, like do it a bit more frequently. And I think we already have like a short list of guest writers to do like short stories. But we think it will be really fun, and it will be interesting to see how far we can leverage blockchain and indeed privacy to make a digital magazine.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Thank you. Did you want to add anything on AART or your anything that we missed? Because otherwise I'll come back to some of the questions we had at the beginning, but I want to give you a chance to add anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. The reason I feel like we so AART has made a sort of all-in play over the last couple of weeks. We've made this. We've started up this validator, and what was initially going to be like, okay, we're just going to do a short little foray into blockchain. We've sort of made this a starting point, like a hub. For example, when I was talking to the two potential associates that will start off with us, we were just going to do like a digital magazine, but not necessarily a Web3 digital magazine. But I really feel like at AART we have a position where we can make a lot of really cool things, not just gaming, not just magazines, but frameworks that can be useful and hopefully will make it a bit more mainstream to build tech on DeFi and on Web3. And we're really excited for like, developments next year. And I guess we want to continue for the long term. Like we've put all our chips in at the moment, and we're continuing to look at more ways that we can get involved. But
Yeah.
With you guys' support and ongoing support, it's been possible. So thank you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We want to continue to support you and can't wait to see where you go next. So I have a question for you that goes back to the beginning of our conversation. Why have you not chosen to make AART a DAO?
Yeah. So AART. So we've existed. We sort of pre-exist this idea of I guess of Web3. We started in uni as it's think of it as a sort of, I guess it sounds really corny, but think of it as a fellowship. And the initiation has always been, not initiation, it sounds cult-like, but being a member of AART has always been sort of a bit simple. You sort of, there's no paperwork or anything like that. So we've never really needed to have that kind of governance. It's more just like a fellowship with this one obligation to each other to sort of to help each other when possible. And indeed, that's a little bit how Blackjack started off. I sought the counsel of a couple of colleagues, and without their help, I think that this would have not even been possible. At least would have been pushed back significantly. And yeah, I guess we've never needed that sort of governance structure where it needs to be formalized in that sort of way.
That's really interesting. You're sort of a proto DAO.
A proto DAO, yes.
I mean, I wish DAOs worked the way that your fellowship works. We just haven't found really the way to make DAOs work very well yet. There are a couple that I think are functional, but there's a lot that are struggling through those growing pains. But yeah, you have a fairly flat structure and you're all supporting each other, and it's really cool. Would you consider moving to a DAO in the future? Is there anything that would cause you to do that?
If we got too big, then we definitely would be looking at finding a formalization of structure of some sort. Definitely, and like you say, if like DAOs, they're finding their legs, and hopefully by the time DAOs have found their legs and found something that I guess in this case scales, and we become so big that we need to become a DAO, then that makes sense. But I guess we're still working on an individual basis, person to person. It's really easy to get into contact with one another, and there are no laws yet, but we're
right.
If we become a massive organization, then definitely.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're managing just fine the way you are. Do we have any questions from the audience today about the games, the Blackjack game that is live on testnet now and will be on mainnet at some point in the future, or the Friday night UTC game nights, or upcoming games that you're talking about building, like Your and perhaps Ochre and 21?
So once Blackjack launches on mainnet, what's the main difference going to be? Is it possible to win like secret tokens if you win the game. Is that how it works currently on testnet?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk a little bit about that. I try not to inspire dollar signs in people's eyes. But
Yep.
but the way we built Blackjack, there isn't really a cap on how much you can win. Um, that's because of the way that our tournaments work. So when you play a single match, you play against, let's say, four other players, and you all put a bit of secret into the pot. And when you win the pot, but a small portion of that pot goes into I guess, a jackpot. And let's say a tournament lasts over a week. So over a week, you've got, hundreds of people playing a game, playing matches, and putting money into a pot. So what can happen, and it has happened before, the jackpot can get as high as 10,000 within a week with our simulations, based on what we think is like a realistic number of good traffic. But we might be optimistic about what good traffic is, as you can imagine for ourselves. But yeah, so this jackpot, it can get as large as 10,000, and the way it works is when you win a game, a match even, you also win tournament points. Depending on how long that tournament it lasts. It could be a week. We've set it to weekly, but we could set it to like monthly or whatever. That pot accumulates over that duration, and whoever has the most points claims that jackpot. And we've seen, at least in our simulations, it get as high as 10,000 secret. That being said, you don't even have to participate in a tournament to win a bit of money. Again, each match you put a little bit of secret in a pot, and so does everyone else. And if you win, you get that pot. It's quite a simple system, but you'd be surprised how much it can scale, especially with our tournament modes, which go on weekly.
And that tournament mode allows people to just jump in and find games in progress. They don't have to organize those things themselves.
Absolutely, there's nothing to organize. All you have to do is set a username. You reserve a username for yourself, and the way we've built the smart contracts is the tournaments are organized by themselves. It resets after each tournament is ended, so it resets weekly, or if it's set to every month, it resets monthly, and it's all automated on the smart contract. Absolutely, that's the really good thing, that it's all automated, and there's no need to organize or to organize anything like what we're doing in our Discords, our Friday games nights. That's sort of a manual version of what the smart contract can already do automatically.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely think once that launches on mainnet and people can win real secret, that's probably going to draw in some people. They're going to get excited, and that will definitely bring some people in.
So I have a
I don't know
question.
if we've
I have a
actually.
question. What if you, as a team, what is it that you would like if this community here were to help, be able to help you, the people listening, if they wanted to help you, what are your biggest needs right now? Where are you looking for? Do you want more users? Do you want more players? Do you want feedback? What is it?
Absolutely. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. It's as simple as that at the moment. While we're still beta testing, we would love more users on our Friday games nights, even more users while we're not doing games nights, like just during the downtime. The website is always up, and yeah, more frequent use means more time to catch bugs, or more chances to catch bugs, and um, the people who have been helping us already, like all of this time with our Friday games nights, and have been giving us really good feedback and telling us, yeah, we loved this feature. We think this feature wasn't so great. We absolutely value your feedback, and it's priceless to us, especially while we're beta testing. So we definitely want more of that. More engagement is always a plus for us, because it encourages, it not only does it create a community, but it encourages my team as well. It tells them like, okay, we're doing something right and we're getting a good response, and it gives them a sense of it makes them feel optimistic about, okay, this works, and we have a little bit of reputation, and we want to continue our reputation of making fun and useful dApps. The second thing, I suppose, I mentioned earlier, we've recently set up a validator as part of our long-term goals to fund more projects. Really support our validator. Its moniker is AART, AART. I think currently we're in 78th position. That's actually really impressive. I made a tweet, I think about a week ago, when we were literally on the bottom of the active validator list. And I made a sort of call to arms, and I said, hey, everyone, like, really support us. This is one of the ways that we're going to continue funding ourselves. And within a week, we've jumped up, like, from 80th to 78th. So
Wow.
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
We made like at first I said it was an ambitious goal to reach a voting power of 0.03%. But we're at 0.02% already. So thank you guys. But yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Amazing.
Keep supporting our validator, and stick with us as much as you can. It really goes a long way. Yeah, I guess those
All
are the
right.
two major ways that you can help us out.
Join the games and stick with their validator. Stick with the AART validator. If there's anything else that you'd like to finish with, Yesha, let me know, and otherwise we can wrap it up. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I guess just, I've been saying thank you all this time, but I think I want to end it on just another thanks. This wouldn't have been possible without help from the community. When I made this foray into Secret Network, and I guess into smart contracts, I knew virtually nothing. And the right people, they took me under their wing. They gave me a seat around at the round table, and they gave me, I guess, the guidance that I needed. And when we gained, we started to crawl on our two legs, the community, really was patient with us, when we were especially really small. And when we had, so there was a time where Blackjack didn't look like our really cool website with the colors and the themes, and it looked pretty much like an Excel spreadsheet. No word of a lie. It was an Excel spreadsheet, but the community didn't just sort of say, "What is this?" like, and ignore it. They gave it a chance, and we took that feedback, and we ran with it. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, yeah, thanks everyone for supporting us, and I hope you continue supporting us, and I hope that we continue building fun and exciting, and in future useful. Well, this is useful as well in its own way, but fun, useful, and exciting dApps.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much. And yeah, we want to support you going forward. I think you're building amazing things, and let's keep on building together. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you to our audience. And remember, go and join the Discord for AART so you can hear the latest that's going on, and also hear about the Friday night game nights, and as well the ongoing tournaments. So until next week, we will say goodbye for now, and thank you so much for being with us, Yesha.
Thank you so much for having me.